another episode of Jofo in the Ring. I am your host, Jeremy Prophet, the Harbinger of Truth, and I am so privileged and fortunate to be joined by such an outstanding guest, a true legend of this business, a man of many names. You may know him as Tugboat, you may know him as Typhoon, you may even know him as the Shockmaster, but he's someone who is definitely going to bring a great and enlightening time to each and every one of you watching us here on YouTube. My guest is none other than Fred Ottman. Fred, thank you for joining us.
Oh, man, it's great to be here, brother. Let me give you a blast from the Tugger.
Awesome. So, you've had a fantastic career, no doubt. You accomplished so much, worked for a lot of the major promotions. Before we get into, all the highlights, I'd love to know, how did you get into the professional wrestling business? Where did it all start for you?
Actually, I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida. And the gym I trained at down there, a lot of the wrestlers, when they were in town, working for Florida Championship Wrestling back in the day, okay, they would stop by and train in the gym, when they were in town and that. And the Kangaroos came through there quite often, and they would stop me. That's when I was like 18 years old, 17, 18, and I was powerlifting. I was throwing shot put, discus, playing football, and that before going on to college. And they said, man, you should think about doing this. I used to wrestle to stay in shape when I played football down there in high school. And but they said, man, this is really good, blah, 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 blah. They used to work, they would come there. A couple of other guys would come there and train, and it was nice talking to them and stuff like that. And it stroked my ego, I guess, for them to even think that that they would think they would be interested, But I had a good job and all that stuff, and I thought about it, and they came to me one time when they were down there, and they says, well, there's a guy that trains guys on the weekends up in Fort Lauderdale. He comes from Tampa, and I've always been a big wrestling fan since I'm like, 9, 10 years old, back in the day. Wrestling used to come on Saturdays. You would go to the, I'd watch it when it came on. I watched cartoons in the morning, and then around noontime when wrestling came on, I'd watch it, and I'd watch Dusty Rhodes, the Briscoe Brothers, the Funks, Malenko, the great Malenko. I seen the Giant wrestle when he was the skinny Giant, when he in his younger days, and just all those famous people and more. And I didn't get to go to my first live event until I was in high school. And I went with a couple of my friends that wrestled for high school, and plus they played football with me. And we went to the Miami Beach Convention Center, which back in the day is where they shot the Jackie Gleason show on Miami Beach, Florida.
Okay. And
then because they worked there, and then they worked down in Dinner Key Auditorium, which was in Coconut Grove. If you're not familiar with Miami, it just was a neat little area there, a lot of rich people and all that stuff. And they were right on the water in the smaller auditorium. But they came to me and they says, he trains. I says, well, who is he? He says, and they told me the great Malenko. He had a regular school up in Tampa, and he would come down to Fort Lauderdale, and they had a warehouse down there with a ring in it, and he would train guys there, him and his two sons, Jody Malenko and, of course, Dean. And both of them pro wrestlers, and both of them unbelievable amateur wrestlers. And as a matter of fact, Jody, he used to train from high school time with a legend from back in the day from Germany. And he would get up in the morning. He would train at his house. Carl Gotch is the man's name. He's the one that took wrestling to Japan. Yep. And he's a legend there. But strictly a legend all over the world where he came from. Ex-Olympic champion from Germany, and just unbelievable. But they go to me about this, so they gave me the address and everything where he trains at there. And so I went up to audit the school. I went up there and met all the guys that were involved with it, and met him, and he was awesome to talk to, and very skilled. Always a great heel and a great promo. Also, on top of everything else, he could make the house go nuts just by using two fingers and poking the guy in the eye. I mean, that good of a heel. I mean, just tremendous and believable, And so I went up there, and then I started training there, but I wanted more. So I wound up moving to Tampa, Florida, so I could train, 5-6 days a week, and we trained in an old mattress factory by the stadium here where they play football. And the rest is history, and got started. My first territory was I wrestled in a lot of independent shows that he promoted here locally in Tampa and St. Petersburg. And next thing was I got sent up and to get a look at in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's when Ted Turner had his one TV station. And he always had, even after I got into business, he always had that fondness because the most advertising time that he sold for his station, was from wrestling. All the sponsors, loved, it drew a lot of people to watch TV at that time slot. And so he always had a place in his heart for professional wrestling because it helped make him the multi-millionaire. I mean, it started there and it went on and on and on and on. Even when the Monday Night Wars and stuff between WWF and WCW, back in the day were going on. So, I mean, that's pretty basically how I got my start, and got to do something that I loved, and actually got to wrestle people. Some of the guys I wrestled with starting were guys that I watched from when I was a kid. So, I mean, it was double awesome as far as that goes.
Yeah. So that's really an amazing story. I have so many takeaways from that. I actually was not familiar with your story. I was just familiar with you as the wrestler. Me growing up watching wrestling in the early 90s was when I discovered it. When I was but a wee lad at the time. I remember you as part of the natural disasters along with the earthquake. And that's really all that I knew of your career from having watched as a fan. But hearing how you started, that's amazing. And the biggest takeaway I have in all of that is you were a wrestling fan before getting into the business. And
I'm still a wrestling fan too. I'm a big mark as far as that goes.
That's to me, that's really awesome because I feel when I talk to a lot of people from your generation,
your
stories kind of, they start off as, I was working as a bouncer at a club, or, I met a guy at a gym and he said, you could be a wrestler, you could be good for this business. You were actually a fan and parlayed that into a career. Was that something that was different at the time? Like, I mean, the guys that you were training with, were they also wrestling fans or were they just?
Definitely wrestling fans, and I'm still friends with all those guys to this day. And matter of fact, B. Brian Blair, he does about every 2 or 3 months. He just had one. I wasn't able to go, but he does a wrestlers luncheon type deal. And then he has a few guys that are younger and older guys from the business that he gives plaques to, and it's like a little Hall of Fame kind of deal, but it's guys that get together, and some of them certain times a year, like Ronnie Garvin's been down a couple of times because, he lives in West Virginia now, but he comes down in the wintertime, like a lot of northern people do, and he'll stay down here a few months and stuff. And he's come out to a couple of luncheons and stuff, and it's good. You get to talk and BS with each other, and you know what I'm saying, and talk about old times. And you meet all these younger guys that are trying to break into the business and breaking into the business, because there's a lot of small, little training schools here that several guys have. And matter of fact, at one time, I had one here with one of the guys that that was in wrestling school with me for a short period, probably about a year and a half. And, I promoted a couple of shows local, and we had a good time, and then the guys that were training had an opportunity to have a place along with guys that were already like yourself that were wrestling, on the independents and stuff like that, and work in front of people, because in the wrestling business, you can have somebody train you and stuff, but the more you are able to work on your craft in front of somebody and try new things and listen to responses from the crowds on stuff that you do and creating your own character, which in most cases won't last you your whole career, because it's all about marketing, it's all about merchandising, all that different stuff. But it's the more you can work, along with going to school, even, continue, going and training. It's a nonstop thing, and taking bumps and stuff. It's like if you don't wrestle all the time, you go out there and, the next day or two, you'll have bruises where you've hit the ropes. You have, weak knees and all kinds of little things, because it's not something you're doing on a regular business. When we were in WWF, okay, it was, but not only them, but my whole career, okay, it was minimal of 300 days a year that we were working on the road. And even in the territories, which I had an opportunity to work in, like when my first territory was Texas, we used to get a rental car. My roommate that was wrestling with me, Ricky Santana, and he had a girlfriend that worked for Budget Rent-A-Car. Well, she'd give us a Lincoln for $40. We'll split it 4 ways. We split the gas, because the road trips in that territory were about anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 miles per week driving. Wow. Okay, because Texas and part of Oklahoma and part of Louisiana, I mean, it was a rather large territory, and we put our time in. So it's going to the town. It's, you get up in the morning, you eat and stuff like that. Mondays we do promos, in the studio, and then you off to the gym, get you a bite to eat, and boom, like Mondays could be Odessa, Texas. It was 350 to 360 miles one way. You would wrestle, you'd get back in the car, drive back to San Antonio. Okay, 350 one way, 350 the other way. Then you'd start up over in the morning. Maybe you got Corpus Christi, Texas, which is down on the Gulf of Mexico. About 200 miles, 220 miles. Then if you're lucky, they book you down to the Rio Grande Valley by Mercedes, Texas, and it's right on the Mexican border. That's another. From there, you'd spend the night and split the rooms, and you go down to the next booking the next day. But for my whole career, it was, making driving, I always tell people, they ask me about how many days and all that stuff, and I'm like, our whole career was planes, trains, automobiles, and an occasional boat, because I've made that ferry trip to Halifax before in the wintertime when you guys had a snowstorm up there. We were up in Canada for about 5-6 days. Those roads, and then out to Calgary, with the black ice on the road going across, so it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Wow. I mean, it definitely sounds like you've been all over and have had such a career, and the time spent on the road. I mean, it's something that I guess you got to love it. And I'm the kind of person, like, I love being on the road. If I could wrestle every day, even if it meant, doing long drives, that kind of thing, I love that. I love the camaraderie and everything that goes along with it. I wanted to go back to your training, because, again, we hear a lot of stories about Hulk Hogan, for example. He writes in his book that when he first went into train, they trained him like it was a shoot. Like they, wanted to protect the business and make sure that, if somebody's coming in here, they got to know how to defend themselves and whatnot. Training under someone like Karl Gotch, who, he's a credentialed shooter. I imagine it must have been a lot tougher than, let's say Jacques Rougeau training me in 2003.
Well, all the guys, Jacques included, I don't know how hard he was on you, but they want to get their best out of you. You know what I'm saying? A lot of different territories, they wouldn't smarten guys up. That was in Florida. That was notorious here. When Hogan went out the first time, he went to Hiro Matsuda,
Yeah.
and supposedly Matsuda snapped his ankle, and he came back, after he was healed again. So I guess that was letting people know, letting Matsuda know that he was serious about this. He really wanted to do it. I listened to an interview the other day with superstar Billy Graham talking about Hogan. And when he first met him, it used to be at a club where all the wrestlers used to go in Tampa, and he was bouncing there. And he met him there and had a serious, he wanted to ask him, I want to be trained, blah, 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 blah. And, he had seen how that Hulk looked, and, he was like very impressed, and had told him, you keep up with it, you're gonna do good in this business, but be prepared, because the Florida Territory, when I came up here, they were notorious for stretching guys back in the day, and like you said, most territories had always had a shooter that was there, get these guys come in, and I want to wrestle, and giving all this big BS and stuff like that and everything, and they get them in there, having them, and they would do calisthenics, squats, push-ups, the whole 9 yards, blow them up a little bit, then get them in the ring there and just stretch, take turns stretching them. I mean, there was many a time here in where they used to do TV. It was a little building called the Sportatorium, and the office was upstairs. And they would take guys in there that want to be trained. And you had guys like ex-Olympic wrestler Bob Roop was here for a while. Bob Backlund was here for a while. And they put guys through their paces. And the ones that they thought were just, pieces of work, as far as they had no clue or, or whatever, as far as being in this business. And they'd wind up in a pile out. They'd open the back door and just dump them into the side yard there like a lump of crap, and they were outside there. I mean, it's all I had heard about guys when I came up here and I was training at the gym and everything. And they had told me about that because one friend of mine, he was a police officer here in Tampa. And, he told me, he says, wow, it's you never know when you're going to drive by that building down there and some guy in the daytime is passed out over the side of the building, from where he had went in there and tried to get into the business, so to speak. But, I mean, there was a lot of tough guys in the business, a lot of shooters, a lot of tough call guys. Like, was really good friends with Malenko, very, very good friends with him. And matter of fact, my first name was on account of him. When they were going to use me after I'd been training for a little while, the Mighty Siegfried. I says, that's good. Siegfried, that's me, because I'm inappropriate, But he was, he was one of those guys. I was at my mom and dad's. They lived about an hour north here on some acreage in North Florida, about an hour from Tampa. And Malenko says, I want you to come meet my friend, And I went to the gym on Saturday morning. My mom had cooked me a big country breakfast. She was a country cook from West Virginia, and she cooks me big breakfast, eggs and sausage and all this stuff. And I go to the gym and train. I want to look good. I'm like, and then my dad drove me to Tampa, and I met with Malenko there. And he took me, Gotch lived in Odessa, which is a small little town just north of Tampa. And he lived on a big pond there and that. And he had a full gym set up, old school gym, like from back in the day with the Indian clubs, hammers, all these old style equipment, the big amateur wrestling dummies that were like 150, 180 pounds that you could wrestle with in the ring and do things with and that. And like it would be a regular person, But the first thing before we did anything, he'd come in and meet me. He was walking around looking at me, and he heard that, my father was from Austria. His dad was from Austria. My grandmother was from Hungary, and German, Austria, good. He's like, he took me in there, and before we did anything, we had to do a deck of cards. That's doing squats and push-ups, and you go whatever you throw down. The color suit, the color red or black is push-ups or squats. So there's no telling. You're throwing them down. There's no rest. You go from one to the other. Now I'd already trained like an hour and a half, 2 hours before I came there and ate a big breakfast. So by the time we were about halfway through that, I threw up everything that I had on his front lawn. And then it was back to finishing those up, and he's showing me different things and stuff. And he had he had something called the iron bow. And back in the day, it's like 80 pounds of weights on a chain, and then a bow, like a bow and arrow out of steel. And this was used from like Arabians back in the day in Pakistan, that whole region, to shoot bow and arrows on horseback. So it would strengthen all those muscles in your back, your tries, your buys, your shoulders. And there was a piece of equipment that he used in his training. I mean, he had all kind of stuff. I knew what it was, but it was stuff that I had seen in books from before, from the early 1900s, up to about, 1930 or whatever. Wow. Guys using it was used prior to that, but that's what they used to work with, the Indian clubs and all that stuff. Yeah. But it was very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I'm proud that he made me puke on the lawn.
Well, it sounds like you took your training very seriously, no doubt. I mean, you even said you were a power lifter before getting into professional wrestling. And for people who aren't familiar with you, which I can't imagine if you're watching our show, you don't know who this man is. But I mean, you're very big, and in your prime, you were one of the biggest guys, I think, on the roster in the WWF. At your biggest, you were how big in terms of height? And,
about 4. They had me listed. It's really funny at 6'4". I was 6'4" at 16 years old. I was really 6'7". I'm probably shorter now. I'm getting old and from everything compressing. But at my heaviest, I was probably about 4'15", 4'16", and Quake was about 4'60". But that's why I was so excited when I loved Quake. He was an incredible athlete. Okay, he wrestled amateur for Canada, and was on the Olympic team as an alternate. He should have been just a super on the team, a heavyweight. But he played rugby in college. He wrestled in college at LSU, and he did sumo, was undefeated, but he hated how they were treated, when they were training. And it's a very, I don't know if you've ever read up or seen any of the video and stuff about the dojos for sumo in Japan. I mean, it's a great honor to be asked to do that. I mean, Haku did sumo, and so did Barbarian, also did sumo. And they both play rugby and that stuff, Haku's from Tonga, and Barb also, and great guys and super strong, super strong.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of interviewing Haku actually about 3 years ago, and we were on a couple of events together. Great guy, great human being. They love him here in Montreal. He's a legend here in international wrestling, Grand Prix wrestling, from back in the day, and obviously what he did on TV, one of the toughest men in the business.
Yes.
And some people actually tell me I kind of look like him too, more so when my hair is undone and it's puffy.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite people in wrestling. There's something in my mind because you mentioned a lot of names, Boris Malenko. You even mentioned Bob Roop earlier. Just wondering, did you ever see that video that they did where they called it the Plan B, where they had wanted to expose the business along with Cowboy Bob Orton, and I believe there was a third gentleman. Did you see that video on YouTube?
No, not at all.
So it's a video, and we can maybe splice it into the episode when we edit it so people can see a clip of it. But it's a video with Boris Malenko, Cowboy Bob Orton, very young Cowboy Bob Orton, Bob Roop, and a fourth gentleman that I don't remember. And from what I understand, the video was made as an insurance policy to a promoter. I think the promoter owed them money, or there was something where they were going to submit this video to the news stations, where they come out in the video, and you can see the whole thing. It's online, unedited. And they say that they've never had a real professional wrestling match, that everything they've done is has been staged, and they're totally, all of them, out of character, and that this was planned to be submitted in the event that something wasn't delivered to them. And from what I've heard, they said there was a series of them. Just it's interesting that you were right there at the time with a lot of them. I would encourage you to go check it out. I mean, I don't know,
definitely.
Maybe you know a bit about it, but it was just interesting because at the time, I think it could have been something that would have been big. It would have been like something you would have seen on 60 Minutes about professional wrestling. All that to say, just to kind of bring it back on track, at the time, how big was it to, protect the business and make sure that,
always number one to protect the business. Always number one to protect the business, to make sure, that, there's so many guys now that will go in there and talk over the matches over and over and over and over, but, for me, when I was broke into the business, before I got smartened up, for every hold, there's 2 or 3 counters, you know what I'm saying? For every hold that someone would put on you, and for you, do something like that. The only thing I remember back in the day when I was really young in the business, and I think there was a guy, Mansfield, that exposed the business on national TV. And that's where, who was it? The guy that was with the news with the big mustache, I think he's of Puerto Rican descent, that worked for,
Geraldo Rivera.
Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah.
That's when he got smacked and busted his eardrum when he came backstage. And who was it? The guy's from Tennessee.
Well, it was actually John Stossel. I think
Is it with John Stossel? I thought it was one of the.
That got hit by Dr. D, Dave Schultz.
Dr. D, David Schultz, who's a limited a shooter. And after the business, he became a bounty hunter. After he got out of the business, and he smacked the shit out of him. Fake. Tell me, is this fake? Pow! And he just took the guy right to the floor. And the guy was whining and crying, holding his ear.
Having seen the clip, which I'm sure you saw the clip. I mean, you might have even been there. I personally think he had it coming, because I think he was kind of.
Oh, he was an asshole. But there's so many people that have no respect for the business, and that's why the business was protected for so many years. But the business was also, back in the day, was pretty much a half shoot most of the time, and depending where you went to. Like if going to Japan, when I first went there, they'd tell you, to be stiff with the guy, because if you gave them and let them try you, trying to put a match on, the only people that you would do a good match with were the top guys, the Antonio Inokis, the Shoei Baba, Tenru, just guys like that were top guys. You would have Americanized, because they would beat the shit out of the young boys over there when I was there, and you were expected to do no less, and not give them anything, because if you give them something, you would they could hook you, and that, because they're all trained to hook when they go through and are brought into the business. They are shooters, and they draw guys. I remember, what was it? God, Quake had him first. Quake had him first.
I was going to say there was one with Quake where he was paired off with the Japanese guy, and it looked like the guy just totally didn't want to work with him. Like he was
an ex-Olympic judo champion for the Olympics. Okay, and his name's Katao, and he was about 350 pounds, 340 pounds, and but he got a piece of Quake, and Quake straightened him up. I had the same guy give me a spinning back kick, and I knocked a tooth out of my face. I spit it out in the ring because he had already been with Quake. That's when we were tagged together, but I was wrestling him in a singles, and I spit my tooth out there, and the referee's eyes got big as saucers, and then I had a look on my face, and after that, I spit the tooth out, and Katao looks at me, and I hooked him, and I wound up taking him and slamming him to the floor outside the ring, from the inside of the ring. He's no. After you kick my tooth out of my mouth, which is no big deal. But I mean, I'm like, he needed a little, straighten him. But he wound up no problems after that.
And you guys get in the back afterwards. All was fine.
Yeah. I don't hold like that. When somebody real common in the business, when I was working and breaking in the business, is if somebody potatoes you, and gets stiff with you, you give them a receipt, and it kind of it's either going to cure it or else you give them a little more. I never wanted to hurt nobody, and that's where really good that I trained heavy with weights, because I could just snatch guys up and slamming was no big deal, but it's one of those type situations where you don't let somebody disrespect you. Yeah. As far as that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a certain respect that's given when you're giving your body to somebody in a match, that they should take care of you as much as you got to take care of them. I'm really enjoying our conversation, and all these interviews that I do. I interview and I try to entertain the people watching, but I learn at the same time. And I think that's what's great about getting to talk to someone like yourself, that it's fun for the fans to watch, and I also get to learn and add a few things into my repertoire that by getting to pick your brain here. You mentioned something, and it reminded me of when I interviewed Tony Atlas, which wasn't on this channel, but I interviewed Tony a couple of years back, and he talks about this match that he had with Paul Orndorff. And he says, he's like, the match, you can go watch it on YouTube. It was right before Orndorff was doing WrestleMania against him and Piper, against Hogan and Mr. T. I think that was the match. And this was just before that. And he said, the office was saying, we want Orndorff to look strong in that match. And he said the same thing like you did. He said the matches back then, they were like half shoots. And I knew going in there, I don't care if he's got WrestleMania in a couple of days, they want him. The match was going to be the way I wanted it to be. And he's like, you go watch that match on YouTube and you'll see Mr. Wonderful. But, I didn't let him do to me what he wanted to do to me. And I mean, to me, it's like, this is such a different time in wrestling compared to like what we do now. Where now it's a little more sanitized. It's a little more, I don't want to say the guys are a little, weaker, but I feel like guys from your days, it was like, it'd be like walking into to Rikers Island. You'd have all the big, rough, tough, dangerous kind of guys in a locker room. Nowadays, I go into a locker room and it kind of looks like, like I'm at a comic book convention. It's like that kind of thing.
It's But the thing, going back like you were talking about him, I mean, you had to protect yourself, okay? Because there was people that would want to take advantage of you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to you have to be prepared. You know what I'm saying? If you can't take a shot, you shouldn't be in the business. Is what they used to tell me. You know what I'm saying? Because there's going to be some stiff shots and stiff things that happen. But the difference between somebody accidentally whacking the shit out of you, other than staying on top of you and pounding the shit out of you. And, and you're in there too. A lot of times I've wrestled guys that wear glasses, okay, that without those glasses, they can't see shit. You don't know where they can't, they're pummeling you, got them overhand hammers coming down on top of you, this and that, you know what I'm saying? And it's not a personal thing. It's they can't see. They're blind as a bat in there. You know what I'm saying? That's the best thing I could tell you on just some people out there that it was an issue. But I never let that. You can tell the difference when you're wrestling someone and, being solid, I mean, like they say now, strong style, you know what I'm saying? And when you're wrestling, I mean, it's that way. I mean, you want to be solid. You want it to, people are always trying to look. I always like the armchair wrestling opinions that come from the internet. There was no internet where we were on there, okay? The photos were out there and this and that from the magazines and stuff. But now, you got guys there that are looking, okay? Looking. I've seen more people get hurt accidentally these days. And the way that they're working and doing stuff that they cannot control, because as most people can see now, I mean, it's a lot more acrobatic. And, you had a few guys that were junior heavyweights and stuff like that back in the day that were doing, and guys that were working in Mexico that were doing this style of wrestling. Plus, that's another thing. Like when you worked in Mexico, they work from the opposite side that you work from in the States and the other countries that you're working in. They work completely from the other opposite side as far as their moves go and stuff like that. So you, as a wrestler, have to be, what do you call it? Let your conscience be your guide. But you have to accommodate that style of wrestling and be able to adjust yourself. And plus the style that they work, if you ever watch the Mexican matches or ever have the chance to work there, it's nonstop. Boom, 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 boom. Slide in, slide out, and then they're doing different things that they're doing, and I loved it. When I was in Texas, I'd go on Saturdays. You can go to the flea market, okay, and watch, before we leave and go to our shows and stuff like that. I'd go watch the guys work at the flea market. They probably all had different masks on. In San Antonio, they had a magazine that came out once a week, and it's all from Mexico. It was all the different guys that were wrestling down there and all the different gimmicks. The Mummy, Frankenstein. I mean, all the gimmicks, so it was good. And I've seen guys work 2 or 3 times under different hoods when I'd go watch them work, so it was, for me, it was such a great learning experience being my first territory and having the opportunity to work with Mexican wrestlers, all the Guerreros, Chavo, Hector, Mondo. Okay, I got to work with them. Gory even came in. He was like 80-something, and he'd been a promoter in El Paso, Texas for years. And he even got involved there. I watched him. He was like 80 or 85 years old, and I watched him get pile drived at a TV on the stage, okay, by a guy. I'm like, oh my God, they were working an angle in that, and they, jump them, and that's kind of guys that I worked with and around. Shawn Michaels, his coach lived there in San Antonio. Okay, Jose Lothario. I mean, it was that, Nick Kaninsky, world champion from Canada. Okay, I worked with his son, both of his sons at different times. Kelly Kaninsky, that was wrestling in Dallas, and Nick Kaninsky, who was wrestling there, and he was wrestling with Paul Diamond as a tag team, the American Force, they called them. So it was pretty neat. Pretty neat.
So now tell us a bit about when you went to the WWF, which I assume would
Sure.
be after you had your start there with Turner. What got
No.
you?
I went up there just for an interview. I never went there until after I finished with WWE. I took in. I had been working in Florida, okay, for Florida Championship Wrestling. Dusty and several other guys, Steve Kern, Mike Graham. Okay, they were the owners, and I was working there. We did a big show. I worked against Dusty, and as U.S. Steel, the big steel man, and that's where I went into WWF the first time. Okay, but before I left there, I went. We had our big show at the Florida State Fairgrounds here in Tampa. Drew a hell of a house, like 40,000 people or whatever, for the show. And then we Otto Vance was there from Austria, and he was there. He came to the States to scout talent to bring over to his territory in Austria. And so he come over there and he watched me work that night and everything. And he wound up, I went to office on Monday morning. I got a chance to talk to him a little bit and that. And Monday morning, I got a phone call. I went to the office, and the office said that he wants me to come over. He was the champion. They wanted me to work 10 days with leading up to him as and the champion there. And I did that, and that was an incredible deal. It was my first time overseas, and over there with him, they wrestled in the same building 4 to 6 weeks every single night. Okay, in the same building, and they wrestled in rounds like boxing. That's how they'd stop in between each round, and then you go to neutral corners, and then bing, it was the most incredible. And there was guys from UK, from Germany, from Japan, Mexico, from all over the world, man. It was just incredible. But when I came back to the States after I'd finished there, I came back, and all the guys had called me into the office, and they go, well, while you were gone, we got a phone call from Kevin Sullivan he was a booker up in Atlanta, and from New York. And they were both interested in me. Come up, and that they knew who I was and everything, because those companies always knew who everybody was, because the fans would send, from every little territory and independent, they would send videos to the office, and the guys themselves would send, that were out there working like you were working now, would send videos, of them working and what do you look like and the whole 9 yards. And if they seen something they liked or stuff like that, they would pay attention to you and and follow you and stuff and get more information. And then they would have you come up to do a dark match and see you live in person what they're working with. When we did TVs, we did like 4 hours. And before those, they would do dark matches with talent that, it could be 2 or 3 or whatever. And they worked a match and put a guy with you like the Brooklyn Brawler and a couple of the other guys and work with them, and put you through your paces and stuff like that. See how you sold, see how, you worked and the whole 9 yards, and get a report back from the guy that you work with also, to say how you were in the ring and that, because, they want to make sure that you're good. They didn't want to hurt none of their guys either. Okay. That's a big deal in the business where guys try to take advantage. If you give them a little bit, I've worked with guys and, then they want to, take advantage, and that's not Vince and have a heart attack. You gave this son of a bitch, you eat him up, and the whole 9 yards, but it was a real good situation as far as they can go, which one you want. Well, of course, I've always wanted to go to New York, but I didn't think I was ready, to go. I've been working probably about, 8 years, 7 years, whatever. And I'm like, oh man. And I told him, I says, I no disrespect to WCW, and the NWA, which was their deal too. But, I'd really like to go to New York. Well, they sent me up there, and there was 2 or 3 days of TV, and they're like, well, The first day I walk in, we're at Niagara Falls in the building there. And son of a bitch, man. I walk in and I'm pulling my suitcase behind me, the trolley. And the dressing room was a long length of aluminum pole curtains and the heavy curtains hanging from them. And that's that's where you got dressed in that. So I'm coming in and I walk through the curtain. My suitcase hangs on the curtain as I'm pulling it through. So these light aluminum poles all of a sudden started like dominoes going. I was having my first Shockmaster moment. Okay. And I caught them just in time and pushed them back up and pulled my deal there. But as I passed through, every wrestler, there's probably at least 20 guys there that were wrestlers. And, this is when Vince has every champion from every territory there is. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking from Canada, from here, from overseas, and I am like, oh my God, I can only think of what they're, who is this retard, and the rest is history. I had a tryout that night, wrestled for a dark match, wrestled another dark match a day after, because we were like 3 days of TV. And I'm like, and at the end of the deal, they pull me into the room, Pat Patterson, Vince, a couple other guys that were there that were road agents and stuff, George Steele, and a couple of the other guys. And they're like, well, son, we're interested in putting you on the road. And like I said, the first 8 months, 8 months I was there, I wrestled as Big Steel Man. And matter of fact, in the encyclopedias, in the front of the encyclopedias, it's Big Man Steel. They even put it in there wrong, entered it in all 3 copies of the deal. Oh, wow. And most people don't know it's in there until I smarten some people up. I says, I'm in here 3 times. No. And I put it to the front there, and they're like, oh my God. And, with the hard hat and the construction clothes and all that stuff. And we wind up, the rest is history, man. They put me on the road. I was there 6 to 8 months until they came up with the tugboat gimmick. They come to me and they go, we're wanting to do this with you. And I'm a big kid. I still watch cartoons. And I'm like, they go, well, we're thinking about doing you as a sailor. And, they showed me the potential drawings of the outfit and all that stuff and everything, what they were looking for, the concept drawings. And they're like, I says, well, you got to be comfortable with what you do. I tell young guys in the business, I says, whatever you choose, you have to be comfortable, because in a lot of chances, like I said before, they will give you the gimmick especially with a big company, because they're the ones that are pushing you. And, are they going to put you in a tag team? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? And so they asked me, you okay with that? I says, let me see something. You want me to be a cross between Popeye and Brutus in one character? I says, awesome. Sign me up. I says, that's, I can do this deal. I can kick some ass and I can be funny on the same deal, and, like a loose cannon. And the rest was history.
And were you working as a babyface up to that point, like when you were U.S. Steel?
Yeah, a lot of times, and that's what was funny with a lot of guys. I worked a couple of times as a heel, and I loved that. I worked in Tennessee as a heel, as Big Bubba, about the same time, a little bit before Boss Man was Bubba in WCW, and I was up there with Lawler, and he did, and at one point I was Superstar Bubba, which I had the sparkly pants and the top and sunglasses with pianos on the side of the sunglasses. Oh my God. And this is all stuff that you can pull up from those territories, and I was AWA territory. I worked with Lawler, he had me in there, I think 2 weeks, and he took I worked a hair match with him, and he shaved my head. I come back in the back, and there was a Chinese guy that worked there. Okay, and he had been there for years. He worked with Jeff Jarrett's dad a lot, and he was like the guy in the back that watched the back room and gave the reports to guys. I used to joke, "Are you Stooge? Are you Stooge?" And he's like, I came back and he sees the hair. He's like, "Oh, that good. You really ugly. You really ugly. Look good. Look good. You good heel now. You too pretty before." I never got told I was pretty in my life. But very, 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 it was funny. Tojo Yamamoto, that was his name. And he told me, "You really ugly now. Oh, very good heel now. Very good."
Well, I think it's amazing that you found a character that you enjoyed playing and that really, connected with you. Like you said, Popeye and Brutus all in one. And then, of course, you go on to have the tag team, the Natural Disasters, which I think is one of the most underrated teams, I'd say, of all time. Definitely think that you guys should have had a run with the belts. I think that they could have had a long run with you and Quake as a team, just a good, dominant babyface team. I actually came across a Coliseum home video a couple of years ago. Probably one of the last ones I ever popped into my VHS player. And it was a 6-man tag where it was you, Quake, and Bret the Hitman Hart against Jacques Rougeau, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and IRS in a 6-man tag exclusive for Coliseum home video. And it was a really entertaining match with the 6 of you guys in there. Really was a lot of fun. I kind of want to use that to segue to Jacques because, he was my trainer. I've recently reconnected with him and had been working with him in his competition that he has coming up called Wrestling Academy, or Lutte Academy, as we say here in Quebec. And he was very instrumental in helping you be one of our guests here on the show. So, big shout out to Jacques. What was your relationship like with Jacques back in the day?
Oh, man, Jacques is awesome. Well, there's that wrestling dynasty, his family, up here, and all the great guys, and they don't talk about the guys that wrestled here in Canada as much as they should. Bret Hart, of course, the Harts, famous in the West, in Calgary, and the dad just unbelievable. But, in Montreal and that, it's not like it was back in the day, all the way back to when Vince's dad, had the WWF, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And, but Jacques was awesome. I loved watching him and Raymond work, and they were good. And what they did makes sense. They told a story. That's a lot of what's missing today. You know what I'm saying? For the fans to follow. It's one thing to wrestle, but it's another one for them to get it. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of guys are so worried about how fancy and how, flamboyant they can be in their way their work is. You never see too many guys anymore grab a hold, work the hold, all that stuff. And I realize that wrestling is constantly changing in that. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of different styles out there, and I enjoy watching. I watch the stuff still today. I watch AEW. I watch WWE, NXT show. I watch some stuff from overseas and in Japan and that, and some of the other countries and stuff, because YouTube is phenomenal for being able to watch a variety of different people that wrestle. I mean, it's just incredible. I've seen some great guys that wrestle in China. Okay, not Japan, but China. They had a guy over there. It's like a Buddhist monk kind of character, and he does things there. I don't even know how to explain how he does them, and and just great. But like I said, Jacques, he's got such a great mind for this business, and he's made so many. He's been putting shows together for quite a long time. A few a year and that stuff. And he has all that wrestling knowledge, like you said, you were working with him to bring to it, that he can mesh the old school and new school together, and for him to come up with this thing that he's put together, it's such an opportunity because there's such great talent on the independents in Canada. You know what I'm saying? Men and women. I mean, just there's a lot of great talent out there. And I think this is a great way to maybe give them an opportunity to be seen by a larger cross section of fans and future fans. Okay. And plus giving them the opportunity, like I said, we were talking before, you got that $5,000 prize. And I think that's for 4 different people, right?
That's right.
If I was not mistaken, that's 4 different $5,000 prizes, if I'm right.
No, you are.
And then the opportunity to be a part of the Nightmare Factory, okay, and that AEW group there. You got QT Marshall with AEW. That's, I think, the head trainer there. I mean, and they have a multitude of old school and new school talent that's available. I don't know how they're working the academy and that stuff, but I'm sure it's great. I know that my nephews, I believe, are involved with that. Cody and Dustin, and they are both incredible guys. And like with Jacques putting together all these sponsors that are coming on board, okay, and I'm sure that the list of people that are like you that are going to go and attempt this, is got to be growing daily. I've just put my information on before the show started. I looked at the site the other day, the website, and seen just a cross section of what's coming. And I put gave my email address and that today so they can send me updates and stuff. And plus there's going to be guest judges that'll be involved with this. I mean, the whole thing sounds incredible and is an incredible opportunity. And kudos for Jacques for putting this together. But I would expect no less from him because he is a tremendous guy, and very knowledgeable.
Yeah, no, he definitely cares about the business here. He loves it. I think it's one of the reasons why he and I get along so well, because I'm actually kind of like you and like Jacques. I was a big wrestling fan growing up. I still am as big of a fan. And I love anything to do with wrestling, whether it's sitting here hosting a podcast for the thousands, the millions of people out there on YouTube, whether it's performing in the ring, going to a convention, sitting at a table and getting to interact with people, anything related to the professional wrestling business. I absolutely adore it. And I think that especially for us as Canadians,
sure,
we have it a little rough here. I mean, we have a great history of great talent that have made it big. But, lately it's tough, with border restrictions, the need for work visas, all these kinds of things.
Yes.
We don't have the same opportunities as someone who's born in, Atlanta, Georgia, or Miami, Florida, or these kinds of places.
And, with the COVID has really dampened the industry, on so many different levels. Even down here, it's finally gaining a little momentum. When it was wrestling in front of no people, and you know what I'm saying, and you're limited to what you can do and what you're around, and then there was COVID cases coming up amongst the boys, and the girls, in the wrestling business, and and it's just, it's great to be a wrestler, but without the fans, we are nothing. Okay, we are nothing. People that appreciate what we do, I mean, I am still a wrestling fan to this day, like I told you. I mean, on top of that, I collect toys, okay? Old ones, new ones, I got it all. I got in the house that we have in Tennessee, I have a man cave there, okay? And I can't even tell you, I have a 40-foot container that I own up there, me and my wife have up there, because I have tons of stuff that I take to signings and stuff like that, figures, pillows, I have all kind of stuff. But I have the wrestlers in this business, even the young ones, when I meet you, that's my extended family. Okay, I watch you work a whole 9 yards. I just did a signing with a couple of AEW guys. One of them was Santana up in New York about 3 weeks ago. I did a virtual signing there also while I was there, and there was people from Spain, there was people from UK, and some from China. I mean, from Japan. And it's great to have fans that appreciate what you do and what you have done in this business, that enjoyed watching you. And if there's a guy, and you got fans are funny. They may have one guy that they won't. What do you call it? There's nobody out there that can compare. That's a fan, And with the internet and with like the thing that WWE has, where they have their own website where you can watch old matches, because Vince owns AEW footage. Not AEW, but AWA footage, NWA, a lot of different stuff from territories and all that. You can watch stuff that your grandparents watched, that your dad and mom has watched, and that you're watching, and you can compare with the new, with the old, the characters, how the characters were, how the characters are, and it's something that a family that loves wrestling, what I'm saying, they have something to compare. They have something that they like to be a part of, That's what, and like I have all kind of figures, posters from shows that I've done. All that stuff is, memories for me, And like I said, in 30 years, the least amount, 300 days a year is the least amount of time that I actually wrestled on the road per year. And I've been to like 40 something countries, so it allowed me to meet people from other places, see other things, stuff that a normal person wouldn't have the ability to do, food from different cultures, just the whole 9 yards. I really loved the business. I loved being with the guys. The guys with me on the road were my family, okay, because I was with them more than with my real family in most cases. There's a high state of divorce in the business, and also, with girlfriends and stuff, it can be hard. You have to, for somebody to know, that would put up with that, so to speak.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not for everybody.
Yes.
But like we said at the start of this, getting back to Jacques there,
yeah,
he's doing a great thing. I think I was the first guy to actually sign up, and not to be braggadocious, but I think I'm the odds-on favorite. I mean, I'm taking this very seriously. I'm the kind of guy, if ever you want to, take a look at some of my matches, I got a good, 200-300 of them there on YouTube. But I take this very seriously. I'm the guy who's just waiting for that opportunity, but training as though I already got it. Like how they say you got to dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I'm that guy. And, whether it's in the singles or in the tag team, because I got one hell of a tag team partner, and I'm thinking maybe we do the tag team thing so two of us get the opportunity. I'm in it for blood, man. I'm in it to get that opportunity with the Nightmare Factory and be able to test my skills against the best in the world and have a great time doing it. So I pity
you can't you can't second guess it. You can't overconfident yourself. You know what I'm saying? You have to go out there, and be prepared to do battle, because it will be a war.
Yeah.
It's all about how hungry you are. So you got to bring your A game, okay? Your A game to this tournament, and give them what they want, and the more, it's like when we were training guys that, what I'm saying, the more that you have to bring to the table with, whether it be I think guys should do a little amateur. I think they should work on all their pro stuff, and be cross-trained and bring it on when you are in that ring. And your promos. We didn't have any cameras and shit like that when I was, breaking into business. You know what my promo was? It was working in front of a mirror, okay? Because you can look at yourself, you can see your facial expressions, your body expressions, the whole 9 yards, okay, to bring with you, and that's what we had and how we could work on our promos and stuff, Paul E, okay, he came to Tennessee and he stayed with me and my partner there, Goliath, who was about 6'10", okay, from Pennsylvania, he, when we come back from the towns, he would go into the bathroom. We're all going to bed because we wore out because we made the trip. We drove back, we ate, and going to bed so we could start it all over in the morning. All night, he would work on promos in the bathroom.
Wow.
All night. It was just amazing. But that's how he got as good as he is on the stick. One of the few in this business that is a self-made man as far as his abilities go. He can make you hate him, there is no doubt.
No, definitely. One of the best. You put a microphone in front of him and he'll make people money. And he'll make people look like money. Oh,
definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's why I say with this competition, I'm training for it. It's not something that, there's a competition, I'm going to train for it. That competition could have been years ago. I've been training for it. I'm sharpening all my skills, and I come across very overconfident to some people, but it's when you put in the work and you have the skills. I'm just being a reflection of what I know I'm capable of delivering. So I think that I got a pretty good shot, and who knows, if all goes well, maybe when I'm down in Atlanta at the Nightmare Factory, I'll make a little trip down to Florida, down your way, and maybe we can reminisce about the good old days in wrestling. But
that sounds great, yeah.
But before we're done here, a few other things wanted to throw at you real quick.
Sure.
I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Shockmaster.
There you go. A lot of people, they're either anxious to talk about it or they're apprehensive, think they're going to hurt my feelings. My feelings are only hurt when they made me do it. You know what I'm saying? But
well, it's a real iconic moment. Nothing like it. I mean, I remember it was a little bit before my time. I wasn't watching WCW at that time. I was more of a WWF guy.
Right.
But there was a website. I don't know if you ever knew about this website called WrestleCrap.com, where they talk about, with R.D. Reynolds was running.
Yeah.
He had a few other people. Blaze. I probably get the guy's name wrong, but Blade Braxton.
They wrote the book first.
Yes,
and actually, Earthquake does the lead-in and the forward in the front of the book.
Yeah, to me, I feel like that was kind of like a mid-2000s version of what's now Botchamania. That video that they put on YouTube there.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've made the top of that several times.
Yeah, I think you're in the intro. I think you're maybe the first thing we see in Botchamania. Have you done an intro for them ever?
No, no.
I'm surprised they haven't reached out to you for that, because, I mean, you're in every intro with the Shockmaster.
Yeah, I feel like, did you ever watch Wide World of Sports back in the day? It's probably before you're a youngster.
You mean from the Wide World? Are you talking about that like blooper show?
No, it was Wide World of Sports. Every Saturday it was on. It was, the thrill of victory, they say in the beginning, and the agony of defeat. Well, the agony of defeat is a ski jumper skiing down the ramp and takes about 50 bumps going down the hillside because of bumping something or whatever. And it showed every single episode he was the agony of defeat. And I'm like thinking, the Shockmaster is that guy. Okay. Taking the blowout where I blew out the wall. I blew 5 support boards out in that because it wasn't a gimmick deal. Okay. They didn't gimmick the wall. They didn't cut the wall. And I broke 5 studs in the wall. They were about 12 to 14. It was built like a wall in your house. And there was a board went across right under my knees because the wall was like about 11 and a half, 12 feet tall. And what happened was it should have been kicked the wall. I got the mask on because it was supposed to conceal my identity as the mystery partner. And it had little holes there, and the glitter from the helmet was coming through those. And then they took the secretary's pantyhose off and cut little patches and glued them over the holes so the glitter wouldn't come in my eyes. And I put it on, and the rest is history. Mike Graham was the guy who was going to give me the cue. They couldn't microphone the helmet to do the promos and that stuff. So Arn Anderson is the one, not Arn Anderson, but Ole was the one that gave the, the big deal, the promo when I went through the wall, and the helmet pops off like the champagne cork because the bottom didn't pop out. I double axe handled and broke 5 support boards and just went whoop down on the stage, and was turning my head because it was live in Daytona Beach. It wasn't taped. So it was live. So I'm trying to protect people from seeing who it was. And it freaked out all the guys that were on the stage with me. That's why you're reading there. He fell on his arse, and Sid Vicious, he's like, and, it was just altogether a funny deal. Although I've made a lot of money off of it.
Well, yeah, I think there was even an action figure made of the Shockmaster.
There's been twice, too. Yeah. A classics, and also the 2017 Comic-Con figure. It was an exclusive for San Diego. It wasn't done at the stores. And sold the crap out of them. I was signing 2 or 3 at a time. I was with Becky Lynch and, oh, my God, what's the guy from Georgia? Oh, my God, where's the gloves? Does like the diamond cutter with his hands.
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles, yeah. He was him and her next to me.
Oh wow! I did.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or did they put that action figure intentionally upside down? Was that?
Oh yeah, I met all the guys that produced it for Mattel. Yeah. They were all there, and they are huge wrestling fans. Yeah. And those figures from that are going for minimum of 200 unsigned per figure.
Wow.
Yeah, and maybe more by now, whatever. And when you go overseas, they're almost twice that, to get them, But like I said, I have a plethora of toys. They'd sent me 3 or 4 cases of those. I've got original cases of the Tugboat, the Typhoon. And to be honest with you, there was supposed to have been a Tugboat figure with the Hasbros. But that's when I seen the 2-up, and I got to see all, it at the Hasbro plant, met the guy that drew the drawings for it, and seen the 2-up figure, which is double the size of the Hasbros. And it was funny. I got back and went to TV. I just did a photo shoot on tugboats in, where is it? Rhode Island, okay, on real tugboats, and I'm there taking photos. And then they took me to see the Hasbro figure coming out, plus a T-shirt. Got back to TV. Vince and Pat called me in the office, and that's when they gave me the deal to put me with Quake. And I was like excited about that, but then I'm like thinking in my head while I'm listening to him, and it's like Peanuts, blah 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 blah, and I'm thinking in my head, well, there goes the figure, there goes the T-shirt, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I think for a short-lived character, the impact of the shot, and I don't mean this disingenuously, but I mean the impact that it made, it's huge. It's still remembered to this day. To me, when they told me we're getting this interview, we're like, oh, we have Fred Ottman, we got Tugboat. I'm like, we got the Shockmaster. Like,
that's it, awesome, brother.
I'm looking forward to that.
And a lot of people, it was only bad that night. I was disappointed because I always went out trying to do my very, very, very best at everything I've done in this business, and every character, every conceivable character. And that happened. And, I tell people, I meet kids and all that stuff, because the kids are the ones that are watching all the stuff from way back then. They know all your specs. They know your names, who you work with. I mean, 8- and 9-year-olds, okay, coming up at these signings because they watch them with their dad. And I tell them about that. You're the Shockmaster, you're the Shockmaster. I says, yep, this is the deal with that, okay? when you're having a really bad day, I don't care what it is, I says, you go watch that video on YouTube that millions have watched, and you have a better day at my expense. Because if you can't laugh at yourself, you look like, it's not so bad. And then you've met me now, okay? You got to always remember when you fall down to get right back up and go forward. And if you learn that and you do that, you'll go far, far in life. And man, they're always like, oh, that's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And the parents are the same way, And I'm like, it's just the way it is. Everybody out there has had a Shockmaster moment, at least one, okay? Whether it be at work, whether it be in sports, whether it be in anything that you do, one way or another, you've had that Shockmaster moment where it's such a screw up and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get over this. And I'm so embarrassed and blah, 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 But you got to get up, stand up, and do your deal. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole premise.
And that's a great message because, it's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about being able to get back up from that and strive forward. And I think it's a great message for all the young listeners out there.
Oh, yeah, man. Definitely.
Imagine if the Shockmaster would have happened now in the day of social media, how that would be like a huge clip.
Oh, my God.
You'd have made much off of that.
Oh, my God. Come to my YouTube channel, falldown.com.
Well, I love that on the Edge and Christian show, they gave you a bit of a redux. They gave you a second chance to do it.
Sorry. Somebody's trying to call me.
No, I
and that was cool. People like that, when that happened. We had fun, trust me, when we were doing it. Oh my God, those guys were awesome.
I was going to say the character of the Shockmaster, because I think it kind of became a bit different, but was it supposed to be something else originally? Had that not happened?
Well, I did this. It was supposed to be the Super Shockmaster, and I would have been under a hood. Okay, a matter of fact, I wrestled several times with in that gimmick. A matter of fact, I think I posted the other day a picture of just the headgear on, but yeah, I mean, it was initially, it was just because I was the mystery partner for that, for the next pay-per-view that was coming up in New Orleans, and it was 2 ring cage matches, cage match. And, that, I was going to be the mystery partner. Stinger is the one, did the whole deal and that stuff. Yep. On Flair for the Gold. And it wound up, then it became Uncle Fred, the stumbling, bumbling uncle. And matter of fact, we did some vignettes on at Christmas time when I'm in a Santa outfit in a little cabin with the fire going. And they got about 5 or 6 kids, and I'm reading them the night before Christmas, and you can pull that video up online. And I'm reading to them, and then at the end, I get up. They're like, "Oh, that's awesome!" And I get up, and I start stumbling, and I crush half the toys under the tree with my big size 18 feet. So it was funny. I said, "You guys just can't stop."
You might be aware of this, but did you know? Do you know Filthy Tom Lawler? He's a wrestler, and he used to be in the UFC as a mixed martial artist.
No.
So he actually, one of his things is he likes to do funny things at the weigh-ins. Yeah. So like the day before the fights, they have the weigh-ins, and then the fighters go face to face. Tom Lawler at one of his weigh-ins actually did a Shockmaster tribute.
Didn't he have the mask on?
Yeah, he did it, and he did.
Yes, I seen it.
And everything. Yeah.
Yes.
He actually became after his MMA career was over, he became a pro wrestler. He's actually a pretty good pro wrestler now. I had him on one of my events that I promoted here, and
awesome.
He had done that. We can maybe find the clip, producer, and we can blend that in for the people to be able to see.
Yeah, it's sweet. I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it transitions through all kinds of different sports, different walks of life. It was something great. You mentioned earlier too the fact that Cody and Dustin are your nephews. So I guess you've been watching AEW pretty closely and watching them. What do you think of what's going on with Cody lately and the work that he's been doing and the crowd reactions and all that?
He's good. He was out of the picture for a while. Now he's back. And I think it's good. the biggest thing that they've always touted there is like I think where they were different from WWE is they were trying to do their own storylines instead of solely depending on the writer to put their stuff together, where the wrestlers have say so into what they do. You know what I'm saying? And so it was nice that they're open to that. You know, it's good, but I mean they have hired a lot of old school guys though that are there also working with the younger guys. But you know, Cody is a great talent, and I believe they put him on the back burner. I mean, the sad thing with big companies is they can't let everybody work all the time. You know, when you got so many people, so many wrestlers that are on the deal that they're not, you know, like when Vince, he wasn't, I don't think he was being used, you know, the way he should be used. But you know what I'm saying? It goes in cycles. You know, I mean, it's like different guys that they get rid of and then they bring them back and they give them the big push and they get over and, you know, the whole 9 yards. I mean, you know, but I don't believe he or Dustin, and both are great workers, you know, but they weren't utilizing them, I don't think, to their full potential. And, you know, letting them sit back there and gather dust and ring rust, you know, is not a way, you know, to run an airline.
Well, I think it's great that Cody, you know, he bet on himself. He said he would leave the company, went out, did his own thing, and now finds himself in AEW. In my opinion, doing some of the best work of his career, whether it's on the mic or in the ring. You know, the crowd may be a little divided in how some people cheer him and some people boo him, but they're reacting to him. He doesn't leave him indifferent. And you know, John Cena made an entire career off of doing the same thing and took the company to new heights. So I definitely think that.
Look at the stuff with Austin. You know, he was he got over for years. For years, he's a great talent, great wrestler, great love for this business. And until he came up with the shaved head, leather coat, you know, Austin 316 gimmick, you know, kick ass, take names, have a beer after the fact, and it relates to blue collar people that work for a living, and one or two that have been in a bar fight or two. And, you know, somebody they're going to tell you, I'm going to kick your ass, and actually kick your ass. People like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a lot of people like baby faces, but, you know, there's a lot of heel fans out there, you know, and they like people that say, I'm going to kick your ass, and you prove them and show them you're going to kick their ass. You know what I'm saying? Now let's have a beer together, you know? Yeah. One of those kind of, I mean, that's just the way I see it.
I think that's professional wrestling at its core, is when it's relatable. You know, when people see something, they see a storyline, and even if it's, hey, you know, I can't believe that guy's doing that to him, man. If that guy were doing that to me, I'd feel terrible. You know, that's heat in a nutshell. You know, or seeing the guy triumph over the guy who's been putting that heat on him. You know, that's what attracted me to wrestling, was always the stories, the battle of good and evil, that kind of thing, because it was relatable.
Sure.
You know, so you watch a lot of wrestling. I mean, who are some of your favorites to watch right now?
Oh man, off the top of my head, there's so many. You know, I couldn't even. You know, I'm always an Orton fan. You know, from the get go. I think he's one of the most talented guys in the business. You know what I'm saying? And he can work with anybody. But then he comes from a grandfather and a father that were both outstanding. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and that's kind of what I like too about how AEW is going, you know, and they got some characters in there. What's the guy that keeps his hand in his pants?
Orange Cassidy.
Yeah. You know, I think what he does, and I've had a lot of buddies of mine that wrestle with me through the years, and they're like, they have mixed emotions, you know. But I think it's a good gimmick, you know what I'm saying, what he does, and he's capable of doing, you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, there's so many other guys that are there that are you know, because what they bring a lot of times is they bring that old school along with the newer stuff that they're doing. You know, it's a mix. You know, they're working solid. You know what I'm saying? They're very physical. And for me to single out one particular guy, it's hard. It's hard. You know, I've been kind of neglecting WWE because they've gotten rid of a lot of guys, and they got a lot of new guys that are coming up in NXT. And with all the releases and everything that's been going on and stuff like that, and I know it's a necessary part of the business. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of new guys that they have signed up in that they're bringing on. Like when NXT first started, I was a real big fan because, you know, that was Triple H's deal. And now they got that deal that what Triple H is, they're hinting about him doing something with AEW. Did you see that on the internet?
Well,
that would be a big no-no, right?
I mean, that's news to me, but who knows? I mean, I don't got my ear to the ground on that one. You're a lot closer than
you know. But they got a lot of fake news out there, so I don't know. Oh, I ain't close to none of it. I watch from afar. Trust me, I watch from afar. My oldest boy, he works in television production with WWE, and he trained to be a ref. He worked at FCW here in Tampa, and then when they shut this down, they went to NXT over in Orlando, moved the office over, you know, and he was working there, and then he eventually got invited up and was working both NXT and was working up in for WWE, you know, so he's done real well. He trained to be a referee. He's not a big guy. He's a tall, skinny guy. Real good referee. Real good referee. You know, and but he's doing television production, and he's liking it, and he's had a lot of opportunities, and I've heard good things about him. Me and him clash heads sometimes, so we haven't talked for a little while. But he's a good guy and really good as far as the business goes and stuff like that. Yeah. And he used to get antsy when I'd ask him about different things. And I'm like, it's okay. I don't need to know, you know, just curious. You know,
it makes me think I might have met him because I did a week-long tryout with FCW. It was a year before I think they changed into NXT, but it was at the FCW facility there in Tampa. Steve Kern was there. Dr. Tom Pritchard, Norman
Dusty.
Smiley. Dusty was down there. You know, he was supervising the promos. Right around that. Maybe I met your son down there. He might have.
His name's Berkeley Ottman. Same last name, Berkeley. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember any names really. Just like he might have been one of the referees at that time around 2009. That was when I was down there, just before it became NXT.
When he was there too, I think there was an actor. His son was there. He used to sing and that stuff. He did a movie with A Star Is Born with oh my God, I forget her name now. My brain's like mush. I've had about.
Is that the one with Lady Gaga? And
not the one with Lady Gaga, the one before that. Oh. And I can't. He's also in the. He was in the Blade movies. The old man.
Oh, okay.
It was in those. Yeah.
Whistler, I think was his name.
Whistler was in the. It was his character. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name.
Yeah, but his son was there training.
Yeah, no, I was down there around that time. Did a tryout there. Went
good.
Was hoping to get hired, but they had other plans in mind. But that does bring me to one thing I wouldn't mind running by you, which is WWE recently changed their hiring practices. Because before they were hiring independent wrestlers, people like myself, and now they've moved more towards hiring non-wrestlers, which to me, I've been pretty outspoken about it. I think it's a little mind-boggling. To me, it's kind of like if the NFL suddenly decided instead of drafting people out of college and wherever else people play football, we're going to take people who've never played football in their lives, good athletes in their own sport, but we're going to take them and teach them to play in the top league. So to me, it's kind of surprising WWE now decides we don't want wrestlers anymore. We want other athletes. What do you?
Well, that's where the Miz came from?
Well, Miz was a reality TV
guy. When they did the reality, he was the guy they did when they did the they used to do the
Tough Enough.
The deal every year, Tough Enough.
Yeah. But now so with Triple H kind of being sidelined, they've gotten rid of a lot of their staff there. They got rid of William Regal and a bunch of other people, and the hiring protocol has now become we want to get athletes. We want non-wrestlers. We have too many indie wrestlers. We want, failed football players, failed gymnasts, bodybuilders, people from other sports, Cirque du Soleil, which I personally find it a little backwards. Like I said, imagine the NFL suddenly decides we don't want guys playing college ball. We want people who've never played the game of football but are exceptional pole vaulters and amateur wrestlers. And we're going to make them into NFL stars all of a sudden.
You can kind of see it though, where they're coming from, because you've got a blank slate. Nobody's corrected them. Not some guy training guys in his backyard. Not some guy that has no clue. That like one of the backyard wrestling YouTube guys or whatever that is clueless. Thinks he knows it. I've been in a couple of indie locker room situations where if you could buy them for what they were worth and sell them for what they thought they were worth, as far as how they act, I can't do this. Oh, it's too close to I can't put him over. My family's out in the audience tonight, and it's too close to my work, and I'm like, oh, okay. I just laugh and shake my head, But I'm sure that you've seen a lot of that, work in indies.
Oh, absolutely. I get that there can be a lot of negativity that comes from someone on the indies where you have to break the bad habits and whatnot. But to me, it's like, I consider myself a very good athlete. I've played many sports, hockey, baseball, track and field. I'm pretty sure I could beat a lot of these guys in a 100-meter dash. In fact, I think I'd probably beat everyone in any locker room I've ever been in a 100-meter dash. I was that good of a sprinter. Pretty good athlete. Very athletic. You watch me wrestle, you'll see the moonsaults and the 450s and whatnot. Not a power lifter, but I think I'm a pretty strong guy. To me, it's like, so someone like of my skill set, I feel would appeal to them. Unfortunately, I have this black mark on me because I'm a wrestler. So by their hire and protocol, to me, it's like saying, okay, so I should quit wrestling and maybe I'll have a chance of making WWE because they want to hire athletes. They want to. I'll give you another one. I got a cousin of mine. He was in the CFL, and he recently got cut from his team in the CFL. So if you were to compare me, who's been wrestling, indie wrestling, 16 years with a bit of an athletic background, to him, never wrestled a day in his life professionally. He would have a better chance of getting hired by the WWE based on their hiring protocol today than I would.
Well, look at it this way. They're doing, by doing what they're doing, and WWE goes in spurts, I think, as far as their practices. I believe that, they're going to try this and see where it goes from there. If they have any luck, will they be able to make the grade? They'll put them through the training to wrestle and that stuff. But, a trainee is only good as the trainers that are training them. Okay. And you can teach people things, but can you grasp the business itself? There's a lot of people out there that have come and gone. I ain't going to mention any names that I've seen. Okay. But they use the business as a stepping stone for other things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They use it, get the notoriety, get the push, and go forward to open doors for other stuff. And they're not as concerned with the business and protecting the business and making, they're looking at the total package. In other words, where will they go from there? I believe now is what's going on in the business.
Yeah. And I personally don't have a lot of respect for people like that. People who want to become a wrestler to end up being a movie star or to, end up having some other level of fame, becoming a YouTuber, or anything like that. I think that wrestling should be a long-term thing that, you get into this business, you should get into it because you love it and want to make a career out of it. Otherwise, you're taking a job away from somebody who wants to make their living in this wonderful sport that we have the chance to do. So I don't know. Again, I don't know why they made the changes to their hiring protocol, but I think if you're going to at least hire the guy who's been putting in the time on the indies for a long enough amount of time, it shows that, when the going gets tough, when they got to do 300 days on the road away from their family, they're going to be happy that they're a professional wrestler and not somebody sitting behind a desk, on the phone all day. With that said, I know the interview's been kind of going a little long here. Last thing before we go, I just want to know, do you feel much like we do here at Jofo in the Ring, that it's about time we get the natural disasters inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame?
I got mixed feelings about it. I think it's great, but I have guys that I know of. Like, I'll give you an example. Here's some I want to put out there too for my friends. The Demolition, Axe and Smash. This year is their 35 years together in the business, just as Axe and Smash. Okay? They've put together, somebody has put together a huge fan club, and they're going around, they're doing their signings and stuff like that. But matter of fact, they did a promo for me, and a lot of other guys like me that have worked in the business with them have done a promo and are continue to do so to push that. And they can go to 80swrestlingcon.com, and there's shows on there where they'll be able to see pictures from the past, different stuff that's going on with them and all that stuff. And they're really going all out and all around. Those are some guys, and I know why in my heart why they haven't been inducted yet, but they're people that should be. And there's a lot of new guys that are getting put in there, but there's a lot of guys from different time periods that are champions and are legends that weren't inducted. I think it would be great for me and Quake to be put into the Hall of Fame. But my biggest problem is, and I'm not going to even say, but it's a great honor. It's a great thing to be inducted in there. But there's a lot of guys that need to be in there. I mean, a lot of fantastic talent, but because of one reason or another, and I know one big one, whether they've not been brought in there, like there's a lot of other guys, and I think that goes back to that, maybe that lawsuit deal that was tried to, for the concussions and stuff like that. And I think that's part of that deal. There was 100 and something guys on that. I've had close to 90 or 100 concussions myself. My brain's like silly putty, but and I have long-term. My long-term memory is good. My short-term memory is not. But I mean, it's part of the business. You get hurt, you get injured, and stuff like that. Like the way I see guys working now, and women also, and taking the extreme bumps that they're taking on a pretty regular basis. I want to see how they are in 10, 15 years. But I mean, it's just me, not poo-pooing anything anybody does, because there's incredible, phenomenal wrestling guys out there like yourself, and guys are working on the indies and the big company circuits, that are phenomenal, and I enjoy watching them, or else I wouldn't watch them. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of, but I appreciate that, and I have people that put us in there all the time, every year, and said we deserve to be in there. My partner, especially, even not without me. I mean, Quake, his son and my son are great friends. And I have one of only 2 singlets in existence. All the rest of the stuff was thrown away. I have his son gave me Quake's singlet, and so I thought that was amazing as far as that goes. And his son could wrestle. He's a big boy, and in shape, like when his daddy was in college, in really extreme shape. And his daddy was one of the toughest son of a bitches I ever met, but I really appreciate that thought, and I think it's good and everything. But I always, I try and put a lot of people before me, that deserve to be there. that makes any sense.
No, well, it speaks to what a kind heart you have. And I think that the unfortunate thing with the Hall of Fame, at least in my opinion, and that's the name of the show, it's just our opinion, is the fact that it should be on merit. It shouldn't be on politics. When you look at any other sport, you look at the guy who hit the most home runs, you look at the guy who scored through the most touchdowns. You know, you didn't have these politics that come into play. You didn't have, oh, this person, you know, asked for this many dollars extra on his contract, or this person spilt coffee on this person who was a team owner, or whatever it may be. If you want to have a legitimate Hall of Fame, you need to be able to establish it on what the person did. And when the fans of the sport look at it and say, hey, you have this person who accomplished this much, has a huge fan base, beloved, and did a lot for the business, why don't they have their place in the Hall of Fame? I think that's not an objective Hall of Fame. So, I mean, if you can't say it, I'll gladly say it, that I think that all those people you mentioned, it's Demolition, who I had the privilege of wrestling actually just a few years ago, Axe and Smash, love them to death, and their tag team title reign speaks for itself in terms of accomplishments. So they definitely have their place in there, as I believe you and Quake, whether as individual competitors or as a team, for everything that you've done for the business and for everything that you have done for the business. I want to take the time to also thank you, and to thank you for being a guest here on our show. Thank you for giving us so much of your time, giving our fans such great content, and giving me such great knowledge that I can actually apply in my career. And I do hope that we get to speak again at a later point, and I will also send you some of my matches for you to check out. And if you'd be kind enough to give me feedback, that would absolutely make my day.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah.
So,
and definitely, and keep on helping my friend Jacques. Oh man, hold on. I'm a wanted man. That's my wife. But yeah,
well, definitely
evidently forgot.
I'll definitely keep on helping Jacques. He's helped me a lot by training me and allowing me to be part of the fraternity of professional wrestling here. And before we go, I just wanted to say, if you could let the fans know where they can follow you. Are you on social media? Are you on?
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. And plus, there's a Facebook fan page also. But it's Fred Ottman. If you pull up my my Facebook page, it's got me and my wife, our wedding day pictures on there. And then Instagram's Fred Ottman also. And I post a lot of motivational stuff for the gym. A lot of older wrestling stuff I post on there also. Even from before, back as far as Gorgeous George and some of the old, the great Antonio from Canada, and a lot of the other guys, and stuff from when we worked there, and just fun stuff and posters, that from back in the day, and guys comment about all the different, they love them and that stuff, and I have fun with it. And then I post the videos and stuff, and plus where I'm doing upcoming signings and stuff, and that I'm going to England in April for the love of wrestling over there. There's a ton of guys coming from WWE, AEW, and a lot of us old farts will be over there doing signing and stuff. So it's kind of cool. I really like it and everything. Got some toy fairs coming up and stuff like that. So looking forward to it. It's just the ball just keeps on rolling. And if you have the opportunity, come see us when we're doing a signing, man, feel free. I love talking to guys, telling them stories and all that stuff. They want me to do a book. I'm like, no, I don't do books. It's not fair to people's families to see the stuff that I've been involved with on the road. There has to be some kind of privacy, Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, just crazy. It's all good.
All good. And I tell you, if ever I get the chance to head down to your area, definitely would love to meet you. Maybe
definitely.
Maybe we could even work out together, and I could pick your brain on some lifting techniques as well.
Oh, there you go. I'm just an old fart. I'm a, what do you call it? My wife, what did she tell me? My brain is full of useless knowledge. So, but I love her to death.
What's old is often new again. So.
I'm like the nerd that should be on Jeopardy. Okay. That's what she tells me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I cannot thank you enough. And with that, folks, this brings us to the end of another amazing episode of Jofo in the Ring. Thank you ever so much for joining us.
Loved it. Love it. Support you and all the men and women that are going out for this contest. I'm going to be following it, and I cannot wait to see everything.
That's right.
And I wish you luck.
And you can find out all about it at wrestling-academy.ca or Lutte Academy. We're going to put it on the screen so that way you guys can see it. We'll even make you be able to click it. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great content just like this. And most important of all, never forget that wrestling is life.
That's it, brother. You said it.
So, Jofo, I'm going to gargle a shot for Kurt Hennig and everybody before we go.
Oh, no.
Jofo, thank you guys.